hard, yeah. Sometimes I feel like giving up, yeah. No matter how I try, things never seem to come alright. Yeah, but I will never let that get to me. For I know God loves and cares for me, and He will never leave me, always here by my side. He is with me. He is with me. Yeah, He is with me. Jesus is with me.
Okay, so welcome to Leandrea. So yeah, we're not gonna do this whole thing of this whole traditional talk show where it's like question answer. We're just gonna dive into the conversation. And so for now, tell us about Leandrea. Who is Leandrea? Where did you grow up? What happened to you in life? Let's just go.
Okay. Yes. We're going for it. Okay. So I am a born Pioneer. I was born here. I grew up here. I went to school here, and I'm still here. I love this town. I'm a small town girl. I am married, 29 years old, and I have 2 beautiful children under the age of 6. So yeah, it's quite hectic. And I am a journalist, and I'm also a writer. And hopefully aspiring author, but I would like to tell myself I'm an author already because I have published, although it's not, the physical books or whatnot, but that's who I am. Most importantly, above all, I am a child of God. I am saved, redeemed, and that's what it's all about, and I'm very proud to say that. My family, they're church people, basically. They're in church, they were part of the church. Growing up, my parents both were very involved in our church, so it was just, natural for me to just kind of fall into that, going to church every Sunday, knowing Jesus and whatnot. But back then, my relationship lacked a lot of depth. There was, I can clearly see it now. There wasn't a lot of, substance to it. It was just, a lot of people think by being in a relationship with Jesus, it's just about going to church on Sundays, saying a prayer before you write your exam, or before you go to bed, or in the morning, and then you forget about Him. But it's not. It's not. And I also, so that's why I said it was so natural for me just to fall into that, got involved into my youth group, was a youth leader, and the one significant thing that happened during that journey was in that time while I was in the youth, and I think this was high school years. Yeah, while I was in the youth, and I started reading Karen Kingsbury. Now, she's a Christian fiction writer, and she's got this whole series, the Bailey Flanagan series. Now, this is a character in a book. And it's about a young lady that's keeping herself pure until the day she gets married. Oh, and I was fascinated with that idea. And I was also speaking to my fellow youth members, about what sex is, why it's so beautiful. Not in the sense of where your parents are telling you no, stay away, don't do that, the whole...
that lets you into more rebellion anyway.
Yes, exactly. And what I did, I can't even remember what age I was. I made a vow to stay pure until the day I get married. And I wrote it in the back of my Bible, and you won't believe it, but I still can't find that Bible. I've been looking for that Bible. Sure, it's maybe more than 10 years back. And I can't find that Bible. It's nowhere to be found. But I made that promise, and I broke that promise. While I was at school, you're surrounded with your friends. You are surrounded with familiarity. You know exactly, you get up in the morning on a Monday and you go to school. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. After school, when I was done with school, because I had a plan. So what happened is, I was dead set on going to Rhodes University because it's the ultimate journalist school in Southern Africa. I was working Tati, I was studying, I had extracurricular activities going, I was LRC, I was the hockey team captain, I was somewhat coach even. I was always in the top 5, academically. And then what happened is I applied to Rhodes University, and they rejected me because I had English on a second language, and they accepted English on a first language.
So from obviously the was
Yeah, it's Afrikaans, so it's Afrikaans. And only they offered English. Only now you can get actually English as a first language. And there was, I think that was the point. I was like, yo, what now? Because this was my plan. I've always been someone that made plans, and I wanted to stick to my plans. I always worked to my plans. Now this stone comes and deviates my entire plan after working so hard. And I was just like, oh, what now? Later that year in my grade 12 year, I actually reaped the fruits of my hard work because I was the DAX learner of the day that year. Yeah. But I was just like, okay, I'm the DAX now, what now? And like I said, you're surrounded with familiarity, so you know exactly what to do. But now you're like, what now? What am I supposed to do now? And that's where I opened the door and I went the entire wrong way at the end of the day. So I think it was just the fact that I did not know what I'm going to do with my life now. I did not know. I was very confused. That's the correct word. I was very confused. At the time, me and my best friends, there were also some distance. I also met my first boyfriend at the time. So a lot was happening, and I did not know how to navigate it all at the end of the day. And obviously, Jesus in the Bible, the church was at the bottom of the list because, like I said, there was no personal conviction to say, like, where do you go to when you are you need help? Where do you go to when you need to be rescued at the end of the day? So that was the pivotal point of, I believe, I'm thinking right now, but I can't say for sure, but that was where I kind of opened the door and just sort of lost my way.
Did you pray for it? Is it something that you prayed for, like your life path? Did you like give it into the hands of?
I can't remember now. That's the thing. I can't remember now if I even prayed about it. If I actually gave that plans to the Lord, because my relationship with Him lacked a lot of depth. I knew you go to church, you pray, you read your Bible, but that was about it. There wasn't. The relationship with Jesus is also something that you nurture. You spend time with Him every single day, every single moment. You read, you try to understand His heart. At that time, it wasn't. I just knew that He is my Redeemer. He died on the cross for my sins, and I need to tell the rest of the people, the rest of my young people, like what I have been learning at the end of the day. So I was very firmly placed in high school. So if kids came with those like, yeah, let's go, okape, it's like, no, I'm studying, sorry. So yes, so there was those moments, I was like, there was a few moments I was like, okay, okay, cool guys, let's go to the park and do this or do that, or get a few drinks or whatnot. But it's after school now. After when all of these things happened, all of this rocks came into my path and everything, and I was just completely thrown off. I did not know what to do, and that's why I lost my way. But God, I will always say, but God. Because what happened is the Lord places people onto your path. You don't always see it at the time, that this person is here meant to help you or meant to guide you. And my husband, I met when I was in grade 5. He was actually my first boyfriend, He was just writing love letters like, no. And so
your parents knew about that?
No, they did not know about that. They were very strict. I couldn't talk to them about, those type of things. Otherwise, you would get a scolding, or you were somewhere hiding, or you were told like, okay, you're grounded now, whatever. I met him in grade 5, and then 8 years ago, we started talking again. And I only realized that few years back that he was actually one of the people that was sent on my path to guide me back to the Heavenly Father, Because what happened is we were in our relationship, and our relationship reached an impasse where I'm basically like, okay, I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. And he was like, no, there's no way. Because by then we already had a child together, and he decided like, no, we need divine intervention. And he made an appointment with Henry and MB Silver. And that night, we started speaking about, he was talking about what happened, and that night he actually gave his heart to the Lord again. Amen. So what happened is he was also someone that grew up in church, went to church every Sunday. He does not have a father that's involved in his life, so he was always like, even out of his own, So his mother is a Christian, and he followed basically into her footsteps as well. So that's why it was so, when he reached that point in his life, it was like the first thing is like, no, we need Jesus. And that night I was still like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Someone grew up in church. Why was there no there? Why did you?
But the thing is, because I knew for a fact that I had to face all the ugly. I had to face all of the wrong choices I made. Because I made a lot of wrong choices. I had to face the shame. I had to face the guilt. I had to face why I did what I did. A lot of times you just want to go through the life like, YOLO, you only live once. So now you go and you go drink your liver into a coma basically. And then the next day it was like, that was so much fun. No, it was not fun. What's fun about that? Now you're lying there with a headache, dehydrated. And it was like, and the kids like, I have to go to school tomorrow, But now social media also now comes into, so now, you don't want to deal with what's happening inside you, what happened last night. Now you go and scroll mindlessly, or you just try and deviate away from what's happening inside here. So that was my thing. I knew for a fact that I had to heal. But I was okay with my little box I created, this pit I created of despair and bitterness, and that was my default settings. When things just go out of my way, then I just get angry, and then I'm just like lost me minute 8. I just want to stay here, And a lot of times, or most of the time, or all the time, things happen like these for you to get out of that pit of despair and anger and bitterness. And now you just want to sit there and like throw yourself a pity party. No, man, don't do that. So, me and my husband, we were just in a relationship at the time. And what happened is we came to a point in the relationship where things just got ugly. It was just like there was fighting. And I was like, okay, I'm done with this. I'm not going to do this anymore. And he was like, no, that's not going to happen. And there were external parties also involved. Yeah. And he was like, no, we can't do this. We have a child together. There's no way. And I was like, I was ready to walk away, but he was thinking, of the future because of his child. It was like, he's not going to allow his child to grow up in a broken home with their family. He was like, nope. And he made an appointment with MB and Henry. And that night we sat and we chatted, I think it was 3 hours. And that night he gave his heart to the Lord. And I was like, still no. I was just thinking, I was like
thinking about it.
I was just, oh, good for you. You know that I was like, good for you. It's like, this is not me. Sorry. Like, Jesus is the last of my list. And, but that it came from it came from a place of pain. It came from a place of anger, So it wasn't just like, no, it came from that place. And what happened is, while we were having conversations, I think 2 or 3 days later, was like, and I fought with him, was like, and he was telling me, like, about God, and he was passionate again. And I was like, yeah, but you just want me to convert again. And I was fighting with him, like, no, relax. And then he just took me and he sat me down and was like, but do you believe that Jesus died on the cross for your sins? I was like, yes. Do you believe that he can heal? I was like, yes. It's like, what is the problem? What are you waiting for?
Did he know about your struggles?
Yes, he knew. And that Saturday, it was the 19th of June. Yes. It was our
Which
5
year was
year.
that?
27, no, I'm like 20, where are we now? 23, 22, 2021, 19 June. It was our 5 year anniversary that day. And so we were just lying in bed, you know, it's like, okay, what are we going to do now for the day? And he was busy in studio. And then MBA called, like, okay, no, we've made an appointment for you to get baptized for Salvador. And I was telling him, like, okay, no, I'm going with you. I'm going to take you, and we're going to go let you go get baptized. Yes. And you know, I was packing his clothes because I told him obviously you need to put in some warm clothes. And while I'm busy packing, Tati, I'm also packing for myself.
How?
Yeah, I'm packing for myself. Don't you know extra clothes?
Maybe if I change
I'm
my
just
mind.
packing. No, but that doesn't even cross my mind. I'm just packing extra clothes. And while we're driving, because we went to here by the Guano Island, we went there by the ocean there. And while we're driving, you know, I just felt something is happening. I don't know what's happening, but something's happening. And when we got there, we started talking about the fact that when my husband actually sat me down and was asking me this question, I actually also gave my heart to the Lord at the end of the day. And they were talking about this, and we were talking about the fact that we're still living together. We're not married, and he's about to go into the waters. Like, we need to get married now. It's been 5 years. So we were talking about that. And when Salvador went into the water, and he got baptized and he came out, and I was like, yes, I also want to do that. So I also went into the
like
waters. And
wow.
you know, just going into that waters, when you go under, you come up, a new creation. It was, I can't explain that feeling. It was freeing, it was liberating, it felt like I had come home. I had been lost, and I was seeking. I was seeking. I had this emptiness inside of me, and I was trying to fill it with alcohol and friends and boyfriends and stuff. But there's only one person who could actually fill it, and I just felt whole, you know. And the 19th of June, that was our 5 year anniversary, and we decided, like, okay, we're going to get married, because I made a joke. I was like, Salvador, I do not want to be struck by lightning. We are now children of God. We're still living. Yes, you know, we're still living together. We need to make a plan. 5 days later, a week later, we got married in court. It's also another story, because the date was actually set for September. And then the lady called me like I gave in our papers the Wednesday morning, the Wednesday afternoon. She called like, hey, we have a cancellation. Are you ready for Friday? I was like, huh? Yeah. And I was like, yeah. And it was, you know, I was pumped up because no, I've got Jesus. Like, I'm doing this for faith.
I'm going to be your wife.
Yes. And so if this is not in his plan.
So it wasn't only salvation.
No.
You also
Yes.
made your wife.
Yes.
So after you gave your life to Jesus, all the resentment just melted away at that moment, or did it still take time?
It still took time, because I had to face it. Because it's nice to just say, okay, I've been angry all my life. Okay, so what you angry about? No, I'm angry about this and this and this. So I had to. That's also why I had to be taken away and just find myself in that space where I can actually face. You know, this is the reason why you are, or this is such a certain things are trigger points for you. This is why this is such a trigger point for you. This is why you've been so angry. This is why you've had so much resentment. And 3 years back, or only recently, let's say or a year back, I've been with journeying with the Lord for the past 3 years. But this past year, I had to go back and deal with that, because I had this idea of writing a book specifically tackling that topic, you know, about you making this big promise to God and not sticking to that promise. And you know, with that comes a lot of shame, and it comes a lot of guilt. And I was sitting there, and I was just writing that book, and I was like, yo, my girl, what did you do? Where did it go wrong? Yes. Yes. And I realized that I had to deal a lot with shame and the guilt and it's a promise to God, and you deflected on that promise you made at the end of the day. And I actually wrote that story, and I wrote the book, and I published it as an ebook called Her Redemption Online, about this young girl who made this promise. She lost her way, and then she finds her way back to God eventually. And I took a lot basically from my own life at the end of the day, because God sent my husband onto my path.
Wow.
And he's like, he's majority or majorly is part of the whole redemption, path to redemption at the end of the day. I didn't see it at the time, but God has been pursuing me over the years relentlessly, just trying to say, like, come back to me, come back to me. And then with my husband, it was like, okay, we need to sit. And finally we're going to do this. So the book is in revision again right now. I'm just adding a bit more depth to it, because at the time when I was writing it, I had to deal with a lot. And you get this open book in front of you, and you see all of these decisions that you've made and all the wrong choices that you've made, and you're like, there's so much I need to deal with, and there's so much I have to say sorry for, because I need to move forward. How can I instill that principle into my two daughters? To say, this is so beautiful by keeping yourself pure. And the beautiful part of, behind it is there's actually a gift you get to share with your husband one day. And I mean, marriage is a covenant. It's another gift from our Heavenly Father. So He gives us this to just like, this is sacred space where your husband and wife can move in. So that was basically one of the biggest challenges.
So it was kind of like a life review.
Yes, I had to do that. And I had to do that. I had to go and do that, and I would never have done it if I did not take my big leap of faith.
Amen.
Yes. So that's it in a nutshell.
Her redemption. I hope one day we're going to be talking more about her redemption when it's out. Yes.
Definitely. Yes.
What was it like growing up as a pastor's kid? How was life? How's life for you? How's life like? You are this. Did you have any privileges? Did you have any challenges? Did you have any? I almost like want to say, you being inside, looking through the window, and the outside. What happened? Take us through that journey.
There's a lot of scrutiny, especially when your parents are so involved in the church, because a lot of the times there's the standard and you have to keep it. And you have to stay there. So if you misstep, don't you dare misstep. Yeah.
So you're an example.
Yes, exactly. That type of vibe. And I saw the misstep when I got pregnant with my first, was out wedlock. So we don't have to delve in. Yes. So we don't have to delve into those details, but basically in the community I grew up with as well. Nowadays it's not a thing anymore, but back then it was. Getting a child out of wedlock is like, oh my goodness, what have you done? So there was a lot of scrutiny, but on the other side, there was also this. You kind of grew up like you were wrapped in cotton. Yeah, so you weren't really exposed to what's happening to in your community or around you. And I understand that that's a form of protection at the same time. But now when I was growing up, I realized that, these things were happening around me and I did not even realize it at the end of the day. And other thing is as well, as like I said, like it was just natural for me to fall into their steps, because like my mother and my father were involved in church. Oma was also had big involvement in the church. So it was just natural. There wasn't really a thought like, okay, why are you doing this? What is your personal conviction to why you are taking their footsteps at the end of the day? And I believe also that's why I kind of lost my way, because there was no personal conviction at that time for me to say that, okay, this is the reason I am following in their footsteps in the church, following Jesus, Now I have personal conviction, because He literally took me out of the depths and placed me on solid rock. Yes. And now you know for a fact that whatever storms comes your way, or whatever challenges comes your way, you know for a fact that, but He loves me because He has redeemed me, and I am a new creation in Him at the end of the day. So that's basically it. You get placed under a lot of scrutiny. Especially us who are also in the public eye now, being journalists and everything, you're still under that scrutiny. You're still under that where you are being
it's like a spotlight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Constantly have the spotlight.
Exactly.
On you. Yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
But you know what? If I look back now and knowing what I know now, there's a lot of things I would want to do different, but I also would not want to do them different because at the end of the day, that I wouldn't appreciate my salvation, and the relationship that I have right now with Jesus. I wouldn't appreciate it as that much because that. But at the same time, I want to raise my daughters, just to know that whatever happens, there's always someone. Even if mommy is not kind or patient at that time, you can run to someone who will listen to you and be there for you and just, rescue you if you need to be rescued at the end of the day.
And that person is Jesus.
And that person is Jesus. That's it. That's it.
Because I know there are a lot of other young people who grow up in church.
Yes.
Especially girls.
Yes.
That is now the people that we are talking about. They're going through things.
Yeah.
They are preachers' kids. They are deacons' kids.
Yes.
They are, yeah. Now, what you have gone through, we would like to encourage them. So you're telling them you got out of the way. How was your relationship between you and your parents that time? Were they, as you were becoming rebellious to this whole thing of, did you stop going to church? Did you start telling them that you don't want to go to church anymore? Did you just get lost and go somewhere?
Yeah, basically.
That is exactly what we want to know.
Okay, so what happened is there was a rift between my parents and me. There was because they felt like, what's happening to this child? She was fine when she was at school, going to church. Sometimes even while they were not at church that day, I would go to church or whatever the case may be. But there was a rift at the end of the day, obviously. And later on, we actually have a better relationship right now. Nowadays we can actually talk about scripture and things we're seeing. No, I heard this sermon or this point, and I'm also thinking that I know for a fact that some of my especially my mother, she deals with, there's a lot of anger that she's still dealing with. So I'm hoping that through me and how I'm doing things now will somehow also inspire her, to just kind of let's go back and figure out why things are the way they are and just let it all go. Because we have a tendency to say, okay, I've forgiven, but then you're still carrying, that baggage.
So do you have any last word for anybody who's sitting right now with bitterness, who's sitting there with God doesn't love me? God doesn't love me because this is happening to my friends and not to me. I decided that my life is going to be this way, but He just won't give me what I want. I just can't forgive Him.
Yeah.
Do you have any last words for anybody in this situation?
Sure. Jesus loves you unconditionally without any strings attached. The world is filled with so much brokenness. We're filled with so much brokenness. I had a dream one night of a clay jar that I was busy forming. And it looked funny. And then I heard a voice telling me that, okay, we're going to break that clay jar and then we're going to redo it again. And a lot of times we get broken by the things that happens in our lives, and then we just feel like we were going to sit in a pity party and just stay there, and it's like, okay, life just happened to me. And no, we are more than conquerors in Christ Jesus. He died on the cross for our sin, but at the same time, He came to give us life and life in abundance.
He is with me. He is with me.